जी, शुक्राना शुक्राना मेरे मालिक, अनंतम शुक्राना आप जी दा गुरु जी। ओम नमः शिवाय, शिव जी सदा सहाय। ओम नमः शिवाय, गुरु जी सदा सहाय। ओम नमः शिवाय, शिव जी सदा सहाय। ओम नमः शिवाय, गुरु जी सदा सहाय। ओम नमः शिवाय, शिव जी सदा सहाय। ओम नमः शिवाय, गुरु जी सदा सहाय। जय गुरु जी, नमस्ते गुरु जी, जय गुरु जी की प्यारी साध संगत जी। टुडे आई एम गोइंग टू रीड लाइट ऑफ डिविनिटी, पेज 36 to 42. Like a mother, he holds us close to his bosom. So much has happened since my family and I had Guruji's first darshan. Before then, my life was in a mess. My father was in a coma and had been hospitalized for a month and a half. Being a doctor, I was well aware of all the complications that could arise and hence could not bring myself to leave his bedside. Then came a day when my frustration rose and I could take it no more. Everything seemed to be going wrong. Finances were at an all-time low and every passing minutes trying to keep my father alive was an ordeal. My sister and brother were also trying their best. Nothing seemed to work. I was feeling dejected. Fighting back tears, I wondered why God did not come to my family and rescue us. I had always believed in Him, loved Him, and trusted Him with all my heart. So why was not He responding? I needed to meet someone with whom I could share all my sorrows without having to utter a word. Someone who would watch over me, someone who would give me strength to face reality and hail me out whenever I was in trouble. I needed him. One night I came home but could not sleep. Around 3 a.m. my brother Shiv rushed into the room and gave us some prasad. Shiv told us he had been to Guruji and narrated some of the miracles he had heard over there. I slept well that night. Next day my husband and I decided to go for Guruji's darshan. Little did we know that nobody could reach him till he so ordains. I had imagined that I would be meeting a long-bearded Babaji sitting under a tree, but I was taken by surprise. Here was a person who had such an intense aura, who had the innocence of a child when he smiled, whose eyes seemed to penetrate through your very being, touching you. I was overwhelmed after meeting him. His fragrance was intense, as if a lot of rose essence had been sprayed around. He made us sit right next to him and somehow made us feel secure. For some strange reason, I felt the tension drain out of me. He also assured me all would be well. The very next day, I took my twins boy, who were about 4 years old then, to seek Guruji's blessings on the way. I asked them to do pranam to Guruji. My elder son Daksh politely declined, saying that he only touched Shivji's feet. As I walked up to Guruji to pay my respect, Daksh just stood there while Dhruv bowed. I felt very bad as Daksh had not touched his feet. Till then, suddenly I found that Daksh had walked back to Guruji and was touching his feet. Later I teasingly asked the little fellow why he had done so, he innocently replied that he had touched Shivji's feet. Thus unnoticed by everybody, Guruji had given his darshan to Daksh. Gradually things started getting better and help for my father's treatment came from all quarters with Guruji's blessings. My husband too found his dream job. Nothing will happen to your child. Then in year 2000, Daksh developed loss of appetite accompanied with fever, weight loss and enlarged lymph nodes. The doctor treated him with antibiotic but nothing worked. It was a Monday when we took him to Sir Gangaram Hospital to get him examined by a senior specialist. I feared the worst. Daksh's symptoms were pointing towards the cancer process. I clutched at Guruji's picture while walking into the doctor's cabin. I was praying for my son's good health and repeatedly asking Guruji for his blessings. I knew that it was in his power to correct the ailment in a split second. The cabin filled with his fragrance. I had heard that if you remember Guruji truly, he always comes to your rescue. The rosy scent signified his presence. The doctor examined Daksh and was very upset and looked disappointingly at me. He had found both the spleen and liver enlarged, clearly pointing towards malignancy. The doctor made me feel the enlarged organ and asked for an ultrasound of the abdomen immediately to assess the extent of involvement. I was near to tears, fervently praying to Guruji to take care of this problem. I had heard of so many miracles and was convinced that he could cure my son. Throughout the 40 minutes drive to the radiologist, Guruji's fragrance reached out to us reassuringly. While the ultrasound was being conducted, my son and I could feel the presence as his fragrance lingered around us. With Guruji's blessing, the ultrasound was normal. The entire diagnosis changed. Even the liver and spleen were found to be normal in size. Guruji had listened to our prayers and given a new lease of life to our child. In the evening, we reached Guruji's place, hoping to talk to him about the day's event. We were pleasantly surprised as we entered the hall, for he called out with a mischievous smile on his lips. So what was the diagnosis? I was overwhelmed. He already knew what had happened during the day and yet had given us an opportunity to satisfy our curiosity. I told him that the doctor was suspecting cancer. He kept quiet. I was near to tears when he said, "Don't worry, nothing will happen to your child." I inquired if I needed to conduct the various tests that were due. He answered that as I was a doctor, I would not understand and I could go ahead as I wished to somewhere. My logical mind would not let things rest with him. And so I got a gamut of investigation conducted on my son. Believe it or not, each one came out normal. Finally, a biopsy was conducted on the lymph nodes, which by now had started joining or matting. The lymph node that was removed showed change to the naked eye. I was confused. How could this be? Guruji had said that all would be fine, but then why this all kind of thoughts came to my mind? I was desperate. That evening I was asked to come to his Sangat once a week only. I wondered why he had done this next week. The biopsy result came and they were normal. The surgeon could not believe it. He said it was a miracle. We of course knew who had performed it. Guruji had blessed my son, so this had to be. A few weeks later, Guruji one day just said, "Ja tera munda, main theek kar ditta. I have cured your son." From that day the fever disappeared. My son's appetite improved. The lymph node was reduced and the matting disappeared. Thanks to Guruji, Daksh became all right. No medication whatsoever was given to him, as no conclusive diagnosis about his condition could ever be made. With Guruji, every moment is a miracle and worth living for. He holds your mind, holds your hand and guides you gently. He carries your burden on himself without letting you know. He clears the path ahead and makes it soft and pleasant. He shields you from all evil, all wrong, and holds you close to his bosom like a mother would to protect her child. And when you go wrong, he gently prods you back to the right path. He listens to you every breath that you take and gives you the faith to believe in the goodness of God, and that is him. Unassumingly, he watched over you and all other lives that even fleetingly touch you, blessing each one all the way. He has no ear, no ego, he makes no demands, he is forever giving. He is unfathomable amongst the thousands that throng for his darshan. Not a single one goes unblessed. Each one of us feels that he is with him only. He shows the correct way of conducting one's duties in this world. He suffers silently when we go astray, and also when he takes the burden of our pain on himself. Believe me, there is no one like him. Never has been and never ever will be. My mother was hospitalized some years ago and the doctor felt that her hemoglobin was very low and she would need a transfusion. We rushed to Guruji and shared our worries with him. He smiled and blessed her. The next day she was back home with all her tests normal. जय गुरु जी, शुक्राना मेरे मालिक, अनंतम शुक्राना आप जी दा। जय गुरु जी। ओम नमः शिवाय। शिव जी सदा सहाय। ओम नमः शिवाय। गुरु जी सदा सहाय।